call the Redevelopment Commission to order. Is there any discussion about the October 1st, 2019 and June 16th, 2020 Commission minutes? Then I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll move to approve the minutes as submitted.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the October 1st, 2019 and June 16th, 2020 Redevelopment Commission meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and heard. It passes unanimously. Citizen Advisory Committee formation, a discussion, and this will be led by our Commission Executive Director, Leila Aman.
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Leila Aman, playing the role of your MRC Executive Director today. I also have Allison Wicks, who's our Development Project Manager. She should be on here with us, too, and she'll be talking more about the Citizen Advisory Committee. I'm going to go ahead, Scott. Can I go ahead and share my screen? Okay.
I made you a co-host, Leila.
Thank you. All right, can everyone see that presentation? Awesome. Okay. So, just a quick recap for folks. We adopted our urban renewal plan in 2016, and today we're talking about sort of our first real kickoff of implementation of that plan. In 2017, passed bylaws. Last year in October, we had a conversation about doing a 5-year action plan, which council supported, and then you further supported that effort when you approved the budget in June that appropriated $2 million in debt issuance in FY 2022. So with that, just to remind folks that this is the area outlined in blue. This kind of looks like a set of lungs to me as I look at it here now. I always see spatial patterns. It's a habit. I apologize. But this is our urban renewal district. So this is the area in which we can spend any tax increment financing. As I mentioned, the commission approved $2 million in debt issuance for fiscal year 2022. And then that combined with the tax increment we have already collected and project to collect by the end of fiscal year 22 gives us about $3 million to start with for the 5-year action plan. And before I dive too deep or turn this over to Allison on forming the committee, one of the things that one of the commissioners asked me to look at last time is how does this compare to what we forecasted when we did the urban renewal plan? And so I went back and spent some time looking at that plan and wanted to share with you a snapshot in time. So what I pulled together is kind of this estimated versus actual. So what we had projected to have by the end of fiscal year 2020 in that URA plan, our urban renewal area plan, was $872,000 in just straight up tax increment that came into the district. You, I believe, had budget committee last night, and Bonnie shared with you the actuals for the end of the fiscal year had us at $512,000. So what we're seeing is just shy of 60% of what we estimated. So that's a pretty big difference, and that's not something that should be too deeply concerning to anyone. It's typical to make budget projections. Those are often based on assumptions about what will redevelop. Things don't often develop the way that we think. Some of the things I should note that did come into the district that were bigger projects like Axle Tree have the vertical housing tax zone overlay, so we won't actually see property taxes from that for another 9 years. So there's a lot of reasons for that. We could still hit our $92.5 million in maximum indebtedness over the life of the district. But I think it's a good measure for us to sort of look at where we're at. And what I would propose is we start to use our budget forecasting as a way to anticipate what we think will be coming into the district as we do the 5-year plan. To give you some sense of that, our budget, so I looked at the last budget, not the one that we just adopted in 22, but looked at what the projections were for FY 2019 and 2020. And according to our budget, we should have gotten $495 So you compare that to the actuals, which is 512. Our budget estimates were within 3% of the of what we have. So, and actually 3% above. So we will work with the finance department as we enter into the 5-year action plan, and we'll make projections based on what are in our budget projections, so that we are working with, I think, a realistic and a conservative budget. So before I barrel on forward, I did want to pause just for a moment and ask if anyone had any questions about that or concerns to chat about right now.
Well, I certainly was concerned when I saw the numbers in the staff report, but I think you explained pretty well why they're not what we had projected. And I mean, I do think that, vertical housing tax, we're going to likely see that on Coho Point as well. That is going to kind of put a kink in, in the projections that we had going into this.
Is the McFarland site, is that a vertical housing tax credit
It is.
project? It is? Okay.
Yeah. So you can imagine in 10 years when those are up, we'll see a pretty significant increase. And, I think it's important to weigh it's a very good point. I think we made these estimates. I tried to get under the hood. I could only get so far. This was done well before I arrived here, but that those probably wasn't assumed in those assumptions when we did that analysis. But the trade-off is that you are able to leverage housing to get constructed now by using that vertical housing tool, and that it will come onto the tax rolls within the time frame that we have. So I anticipate, year 10, we'll start to see a little bit different picture 10 years from now. And, one thing I would note is that that's not an inconsistent pattern. What I've seen in other urban renewal districts, the ramp up takes time. And then usually a lot of the resources come in towards the middle or to the end of the life of the district. So it's just something to keep in mind. But it's just, if you've noticed, I get sensitive. We start talking about $92 million. It's like, yeah, that's what we project. But we also got to follow the trends and kind of see what we're actually getting in, and then find ways to leverage that money the best way that we can to achieve the projects that we have in the plan. And so I think there's a ton we can do over the next several years with that $3 million. Over the life of the 5-year plan, it'll be more than that. But I do feel like we can accomplish a lot in that time frame with what could be seen as a little amount of money.
When going back to McFarland, I would guess they're not, we will see some more tax from them than we would from Axle Tree or Coho, because they're not going to be all, it's based on how many stories you are, right?
Yes, and I can't exactly remember if they're getting the full 80% abatement or not. So I will get back to you on that, but I think they're between 60 and 80, and the maximum is 80% on a building. Okay. Well, if anything comes up throughout the presentation, I'm still here, so don't hesitate to ask. With that, is Allison here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, and I'm going to run the slides and try to do a better job this time.
Great. Good evening, counselors, Mayor. Allison Wicks, I'm the Development Project Manager for the City of Milwaukee, and I'll just give a quick overview of the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee and our plans for creating it. So the purpose of the Citizens Advisory Committee is to advise the Commission on decisions regarding plan implementation. It's laid out in the bylaws who should be on the committee and the makeup of the committee membership. It's a 9-person committee with 2 ex officio members, and we think that this group would also play a key role as we move forward on the 5-year action plan. This is the list from the bylaws. Oh, you can go back to the list, Layla. So the Citizens Advisory Committee is supposed to be made up of property owners and business owners and residents from within the boundaries of the urban renewal area. and then persons with extensive knowledge of finance, accounting, or economics, real estate development or land use planning, affordable housing development, and public services, utilities, or infrastructure. And then also a member of the MRC, so a city councilor who will be the chair, and then 2 ex officio members, one from Clackamas Fire and one from NCPRD. For the Citizens Advisory Committee recruitment, I'm thinking of a process that's similar to the City Hall Blue Ribbon Committee process that we recently went through. So sharing information in the pilot, social media, website, and then also direct outreach and following up with interested parties that have reached out to us over the years, including talking to neighborhood district associations and the DMVA. We would have an online application process and then follow up with interviews as needed to kind of fill those designated slots. So we have 2 questions for you guys tonight. Does the commission have any additional guidance on the selection process? And the commission is asked to identify one of its members to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee as the chair and another to serve as an alternate. That's it. So with that, I'll open it up for questions or discussion.
So let's start with the first one. Is there any additional guidance that anybody has at this point on this selection process?
So, I mean, I think, we've run a lot of these processes. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I guess once you get applications, what do you see as the interview, or, we did an interview process for the Blue Ribbon and the, whatever the other one was, the CPIC, yeah.
I think it would be Zoom interviews instead of in-person interviews, and maybe only interviewing if there was like competition between those different slots that someone's trying to fill. Or maybe some people meet more than one.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of people I would love to have serve on this committee who would check a couple of boxes. Just in terms of outreach, I'm thinking we got a really interesting response to both the CPIC and the Blue Ribbon committees, and we had a lot of good applicants for both of that, and we weren't able to use them all. So maybe just doing a little outreach to those 2 applicant pools and saying, hey, there's another opportunity to be involved.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because there were so many people that it would have been great to plug in. They may not fit here, but.
And given our new council goal around diversity, equity, inclusion, I think also bringing that lens to this recruitment process is something I'm interested in doing.
Yeah, and I think Anne has a very good list of folks that maybe we could also include in that outreach.
Absolutely. And one of the things for this area in particular is we have a number of businesses that are owned actually by our BIPOC community in these areas, which I think are important voices here.
Yep.
Is Northwest Housing Alternatives in the blue area? It is. Okay. Yeah, it would be wonderful if some folks from there applied.
As in staff or as in residents?
Yes. Well, one of the categories we have on there is people with expertise in housing and affordable housing. So, and you can have that expertise from either side.
Will all these members need to live in the city of Milwaukie, or is there opportunity for people who are interested in Milwaukie but live outside the city limits to apply?
That's a good question. I think
question.
But we should check the bylaws and make sure.
I mean, my recollection is that the first few categories are, there are residents in there, but my recollection is we realized we may not have the expertise for some of those categories and people who live in the city.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main reason I asked that question is because immediately, I can think of like somebody in accounting and somebody in housing. They live close in, but they aren't currently citizens of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. From a quick glance at the bylaws, it looks like it's silent on, besides the ones that are a resident within the URA district. So, if someone lived in Oak Grove and had an interest in the district, I think that.
Yeah, well, and especially like Lisa said, because we have those different categories, and we've done that in many other committees before, or several. I wouldn't say many. I don't mean that because I don't know that for a fact, but in some committees before. So, and I know in some of the others, just generally, folks can live outside the city and beyond. Like Planning Commission is one that they don't have to live within the city. So, yeah.
And I think they're never limited as to how many.
Yeah. You don't want to.
You should
overabundance, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to have half the committee living outside.
No.
The city, but, yeah.
And business owners do not need to be Milwaukie residents.
Yeah. Milwaukee residents or their businesses in Milwaukee. I mean, I can think of offhand again, a couple of people whose business is in Milwaukee, but their personal residence isn't in Milwaukee. And I can think of things the other way around, too. A great business owner who lives in Milwaukee, but her business is outside of Milwaukee. So, yeah. The one that's easy to nail down is residents, right? We got that one.
Okay. Well, and you can feel free to send us ideas or thoughts as they come up, or send folks to Allison, or send Allison probably better their contact info, and she can reach out. But we just wanted to initiate this conversation with you now to get your wheels spinning. Also assign one of you to the committee so you're tethered to it then, and then you have incentive to help us get some folks. Because I'll say this is an important committee. They're all important. But this committee will actually be really engaged and involved in how resources are getting spent, how projects are being prioritized. And so having that wide distribution of folks that represent the interests that are in the bylaws, but also have the socioeconomic and the diversity that we want to see in our city. So we want to see this committee be reflecting in many of those lenses. So just put your thinking hats on and don't feel like if you don't tell us tonight, it's too late. Reach out, share that, but just start thinking about folks that would be a good fit for this.
When do you expect to start the recruiting? The application process, I mean?
I think we could start in probably early October, and then maybe by the end of the year have a committee back to council for appointment.
So as to the council rep, I mean, I was the council person on the task force that developed the district, but I really feel tapped out because of CPIC and also sort of starting to get into the NCPRD stuff with Wilda. So I'm not really interested in volunteering for this one.
Well, I am interested. I feel like I don't know a lot about economic development, and this seems like a really good opportunity to learn. And I think this is going to do some really cool stuff. So I would be interested.
The only thing I would add is that part of our job for me and Allison is education of this whole committee. What is, so don't let that dissuade you. I think we're pretty good teachers, right? And we can really, and that's part of our job is when we bring people in, we'll hopefully have some citizens as well that aren't familiar with all of our acronyms. And part of our job is to get those folks up to speed and have them be well-informed representatives of this work. So we will help whomever steps up to get there for sure.
Yeah, and then if Kathy takes that one seat, then we still need an alternate.
I think it's a good idea for good measure.
I stay out of the path of buses, but I can make no guarantees.
I'm also interested in this work, so I'd be happy to be your alternate.
Perfect. So do we need a motion on all of that, or we accept what they said and put their names down?
Just for grins, let's have a motion.
I move to appoint Kathy Heisey as the primary person for the urban renewal with the CAC, and Council President Angel Faulkner as the alternate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to have Kathy Heisey be the primary representative on the community, the Redevelopment Commission and Advisory Committee, and Angel Faulkner to be this alternate. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. It passes unanimously. Congratulations. Have an excellent time.
Great, you guys. Thank
It's
you.
going to be awesome. We're so excited. Welcome to the team.
This kind of work is so fascinating. I mean, it's part of what I did in California, and you'll love it. You get to help make big decisions. Not that we haven't already made big decisions, but things that you see actually kind of happen. It's awesome.
As long as we don't have 8 a.m. meetings.
Not on my watch.
7 a.m. 7 a.m.
No, wrong direction.
All right. Are there any further commission reports? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. We are adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.